$46,000, and it does what? 656 horsepower, 330 miles of range, and it'll go places a Jeep won't. Want to know more about it? Let's go. So today is a big day in the EV world. Rivian just officially pulled back the curtain on the R2 at SXSW in Austin, and I have to say, after 2 years of hype, the details are finally here. And honestly, they mostly delivered. So let's talk about everything you need to know about the 2027 Rivian R2, because there is a lot to unpack. If you've been following Rivian for a while, you know the R1S and R1T have been absolute home runs in terms of capability and design. But they've also been sitting around 70 grand and up, which, let's be real, puts them out of reach for most people. The whole point of the R2 was always to bring that same Rivian DNA, the adventure-ready spirit, the thoughtful interior, the serious capability, down into something more attainable. And that's exactly what this is. Rivian first teased the R2 back in March 2024 in Laguna Beach, and at that event they promised a $45,000 starting price. Now, 2 years later, production is actually starting. Deliveries kick off this spring. This is real. It's happening. Let's start with how it looks, because this thing genuinely carries the Rivian family resemblance without just being a shrunken R1S. You've still got that distinctive front fascia, the clean surfacing, the purposeful stance. It sits at about 186 inches long, which puts it right in midsize SUV territory. Think Honda Passport or Toyota for runner range. It's not tiny, but it's noticeably smaller and lighter than the R1S, which Rivian says comes out to nearly 2,000 pounds less. That's a big deal for how it drives and how efficient it is. On the outside, Rivian is doing color really well here. You've got options like Borealis, this gorgeous deep purple, a new Catalina Cove blue with teal undertones, Launch green, Midnight, Forest green, Glacier white, Esker silver, and Half Moon gray. And there's a little Easter egg for longtime Rivian fans. The performance trim comes with Compass yellow brake calipers. A nod to one of the most beloved R1 colors that fans have been begging to bring back. It's a small touch, but it tells you Rivian is paying attention to its community. One of the coolest exterior features carried over from the R1S is a Toyota for runner-style drop-glass rear window. The glass in the tailgate rolls completely down into the liftgate. It's one of those things that sounds minor until you're at a campsite handing gear in and out. And then you realize it's actually brilliant. Now let's get into the good stuff. What's under the hood, so to speak. The R2 launches in a performance trim first. And this thing is no joke. You're looking at a dual motor, all-wheel drive setup making 656 horsepower and 609 pound-feet of torque. It hits 60 miles per hour in 3.6 seconds. That puts it in the same conversation as a Corvette ERA. From a midsize electric SUV, let that sink in. The performance also gets semi-active suspension in a full suite of drive modes, including rally, soft sand, and launch mode, which tells you Rivian isn't treating the off-road credentials as an afterthought. Ground clearance comes in at 9.6 inches, and every single trim can be equipped with a tow package rated at 4,400 pounds. Coincidentally, that's almost enough to tow another R2. All versions of the R2 share an 87.9 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and the performance gets up to 330 miles of EPA estimated range, which is seriously competitive. Charging from 10 to 80% takes under 30 minutes, and critically, the R2 comes with a native NACS port. That means day one, you have access to the entire Tesla Supercharger network. No adapter headaches, no compatibility concerns. Just plug in and go. Later in 2026, Rivian rolls out the dual-motor premium trim at $55,485. That's still 450 horsepower and 537 pound-feet. More than enough, same range, same battery. But it steps down to 20-inch wheels instead of 21s, loses the semi-active suspension, and drops a few of those specialized off-road drive modes. Still a genuinely capable vehicle, just not the full send version. Then in early 2027, you get the rear-wheel drive standard, single motor, 350 horsepower, 5.9 seconds to 60. Range on that one with the long-range battery is actually 345 miles. The best in the lineup, starting at $48,490. And finally, in late 2027, the entry-level standard arrives with a smaller battery, still more than 275 miles of range. starting at $46,495. Now the interior. This is where Rivian really shines, and the R2 absolutely carries that torch. Anyone who's sat in an R1S knows that Rivian has this almost Scandinavian approach to the cabin. Clean, warm, tactile, with materials that actually feel premium without being showy. The R2 brings that same vibe at a lower price point, and that's a genuine achievement. You have got two large screens on the dashboard running Rivian's cel-shaded infotainment system, which honestly is one of the better-looking UI designs in the EV space right now. There's a new steering wheel with haptic halo controls. These are context-aware wheels that can scroll, tilt, push, and pull with distinct physical feedback depending on what you're doing. That's a thoughtful upgrade over traditional scroll wheels. One of my favorite details. There's a removable USB-C power bank built into the center console that also doubles as a hand warmer. It's small, it's clever, and it's exactly the kind of feature that makes you feel like the designers actually use their own product. Interior room is class-leading according to Rivian, with over 40 inches of legroom both front and rear. You also get a frunk up front to 5.2 cubic feet, enough for 6 grocery bags or a carry-on suitcase, plus 2 glove boxes inside. An actual second glove box under the center screen. Between that and the front, you've got more storage than you know what to do with. On the tech side, the R2 is built on a new electrical architecture with 200 TOPS of edge AI compute powering an in-car AI voice assistant that, and this is notable, can work even when you're completely offline. No signal in the mountains. The assistant still works. Rivian's Autonomy Plus hands-free driver assist system, which covers over 3.5 million roads in the US and Canada, is available either at $2,500 upfront or about $50 a month. 11 HDR cameras and 5 radar sensors are baked into every single R2, so you can add Autonomy Plus at any time after purchase without hardware changes. So who does this go up against? The most obvious competitor is the Tesla Model Y, and on paper, this is a really interesting comparison. The Model Y starts around $40,000, so there's a price gap. But the R2 counters with substantially more off-road capability, a bigger frunk, more creative interior features, native supercharger access, and frankly a much more distinctive design. Rivian is clearly betting that buyers who want more than just a daily commuter will find the value proposition compelling. You could also throw the Jeep Recon into the conversation, or the Ford Bronco Sport, but honestly the R2 is playing a different game than those when you look at the performance trim. 656 horsepower and 330 miles of range in a vehicle that can also tackle serious terrain is a genuinely unique combination right now. The tough news is that the federal EV tax credit is gone. The Trump administration eliminated it last year, so that $7,500 savings buyers used to count on isn't there anymore. That makes the pricing story a little harder, but even without the credit, the R2 is priced closer to the mainstream than any Rivian has ever been. Look, after 2 years of waiting, Rivian has mostly delivered on what they promised with the R2. The entry-level model at $46,495 isn't quite here yet. That comes in late 2027, but the performance trim launching this spring is a legitimate statement vehicle that competes on performance, range, and capability with anything in its class. The interior is beautiful. The tech is genuinely forward-thinking. The adventure-oriented features feel authentic. Not just marketing copy. If you've been sitting on a $100 deposit since 2024, I think you're going to be pretty happy with where this landed. And if you haven't put a deposit down yet, reservations are still open. The R2 is making its public debut at SXSW starting tomorrow, March 13th. I'll have more coverage as we get closer to actual deliveries and first drives. As always, drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you buying a performance trim at launch? Or are you holding out for that base $46,000 model? I'm genuinely curious. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.